Hello and welcome to this tutorial. Today, we will jump into Adobe Illustrator and draw this beautiful illustration. I am very excited. If you have any questions, kindly drop them in the chat below and I will answer them. The assets used in this project are free for download. I have provided the link below. Without further ado, let us begin. Here, I have the sketch on the artboard, and these are the colors I will use. Switch to the rectangle tool and choose a stroke color other than black for contrast. I will begin by drawing a border over the sketch. Click and drag to draw a rectangle outside the boundary of the sketch. When done, go to the Properties window and get rid of the fill, but keep the stroke. I will also increase the stroke width to 2 pixels. Switch to the Layers panel and lock the currently active layer. Add a new layer. On this layer, I will draw the background image. Using a similar procedure as before, I will draw a rectangle over the sketch border. Choose a new swatch for this. On the border, left-click, hold and drag to draw a rectangle. Back to the Layers panel. Lock the currently active layer and toggle visibility. Add a third layer. I will trace the sketch from this layer. Select the pen tool from the Tools panel on the left. Click and release to make an anchor point and start a path. Then, move the pointer over. Press and drag to create a curve. Make sure the path before the anchor point looks good. Press Alt on Windows or Option on Mac and drag to split the handles. Click and release to make an anchor point. Then, click and drag from this point. Now, click back on the anchor point and move to the 5th position. Click and release. The next segment forms a curve and I will need directional handles. Press and drag, making sure the path before the anchor point looks good. On to the next position. Click and drag. Then, press Alt on Windows, Option on Mac and drag to split the handles to the new direction of the curve. Press and drag at this point, then release when it looks good. The next path needs to be straight. I will remove the right handle so that it does not curve the path after the anchor. Click back on the anchor point to remove the handle. Go to the start point. When you see a circle next to the pointer, click and the path will close. The following section is straightforward. Click to define the first anchor point. Click again where you want the segment to end. Do not drag. If you need to constrain the angle of the segment, shift and click. When done, close the path. I will now draw the sun. Select the Ellipse tool from the Tools panel on the left. Hold Shift, click and drag to create a perfect circle. Back with the pen tool. I will draw a few more objects. Not all objects will be created on this layer. Make sure that every object created forms a closed path. Good. I am through with this layer. Lock the layer and hide it. Add a new layer. On this layer, I will draw the lower section of the artwork. Switch to the pen tool and choose a new color using the color picker. I will speed up the next section. Keep in mind, to constrain the angle of a segment, shift and click. Good. It is time to detail the trees. Using the Direct Selection tool, adjust the anchor points so that our paths align with the sketch. To make a groove, switch to the pen tool. Hover over the path you would like to add an anchor point, you should see a plus sign besides the pen tool. Click to add an anchor point. You may also use Add Anchor Point tool to achieve a similar result. I will add 3 anchor points on this path. Switching to the Direct Selection tool, hold down the center anchor point and drag inwards to form a groove. Work on the rest using the same technique. Make adjustments on the path using the Direct Selection tool. In regards to the trees, they do not need to perfectly align because of their size in respect to the whole artwork. Okay, next part. Click to create an anchor point and drag to extend the handles. Click on the next point and drag to create a curve. Use the handles to adjust the path. The more you drag, the more the path curves. Click back on the anchor point and close the path. Do the same for the remaining objects. I am through here. It is time to color the artwork. Under the Layers panel, enable the second layer. Keep layers 3 and 4 locked and visibility turned off. Back to the artboard, select the blue rectangle. Using the eyedropper tool from the Tools panel on the left, click on this color for the background. Switch to the Gradient tool. Enable the Fill Swatch on the color picker if it is not active. I will now move the gradient annotator vertically down, just short of the page border. Increase the range by extending the gradient outside the artboard. You notice there is a tiny square that appears besides the cursor. It allows you to extend the gradient annotator. Click and drag to do so. I will also adjust the shape of the gradient to form an ellipse. Select this point using the Gradient tool. When you see a circle beside the cursor, click and drag to adjust the shape. The gradient now has an ellipse shape. It looks good. Now lock the current layer and toggle visibility. Let us work on the objects in layer 3 and 4. Follow along as I pick the colors. I will begin with the sun. Select the circle and switch to the eyedropper tool. Choose this color. For the cloud, choose this color. It has a radial gradient. For the mountain, select the 4th color and switch to the Gradient tool. Open the Gradient panel and change the orientation of the gradient annotator to 90 degrees. You can also adjust the object's opacity under the Transparency panel. Let us continue. Select this object, switch to the eyedropper tool and choose this color. For our final object, provide this color. I will also change the direction of the linear gradient to 90 degrees. Back to the Layers panel, let us view our progress. It has started to take shape. Very well. I will now switch to the 4th layer. Using a similar process as before, I will apply the respective colors. Good, I am through here. Let us see how the whole illustration looks. It looks good. I will add a few more objects. Add a new layer and hide the rest of the layers except layer 1 with the sketch. Select the pen tool. Draw a few random objects at this position. They do enhance the landscape. I will now draw some cloud reflection using a different tool. Select the line segment tool from the tools panel on the left. On a blank area, click and drag to make a segment. When done, release the drag to finish. Now, go back to the properties panel and increase the stroke to 4 pixels. Change the default stroke profile to this new profile. Make a copy and increase the stroke width to around 7 pixels. I will draw a simple rectangle shape using the pen tool as the final object for this section. I am through with this. Open the layers panel and turn on visibility for all layers. Let us provide color for the new objects. Select all the triangles just created. Using the eyedropper tool, select this color. If you apply color to these strokes, they seem to disappear, but they are still present. Go to Object, Expand Appearance to change their attributes. For this object, I will provide this color and move it to a lower layer. On the Layers panel, expand the layers, click and drag the object to layer 2. I will now create the lake reflection. Select the trees, press Alt on Windows or Option on Mac and drag to make a copy. Move the copy outside the artboard. Do the same for the lake. Now, at this position, select the trees. Right-click, go to Transform, Reflect, and choose Horizontal. I only need the section with the trees. Switch to the Direct Selection tool. Select these 2 bottom nodes. Using the down arrow key, move both nodes until the trees are fully covered. This is the section I need. Now drag across to select both objects. Go to Pathfinder or Windows Pathfinder to load the panel and choose the action Intersect. Provide it with this color and place it back in the artwork along the riverbed. Good. I will now add a few more objects to enhance the look of the illustration. Move to the Layers panel and hide layers 2, 3, and 4. Layer 5 is my current working layer. Now back to the artboard. Using the pen tool and a color of your choice, draw the remaining parts of the sketch on the clouds. I will speed up this section to save time. Keep in mind that all objects must form a closed path. Good. When done, turn all the layers back on. Let us color the new objects. Back to the artboard. I will use these colors on the 3rd column. Select the first cloud. Using the eyedropper tool, provide this color. Now switch to the gradient tool and adjust the gradient annotator. Follow my steps for the rest of the objects. The colors are arranged in order of the object's vertical position. I will slightly speed up this section. If you find that I move too fast, feel free to pause and replay the video at your convenience. Good. Now, all the colors I have just provided have a blend mode. For example, to view the transparency properties of this selected object, click on the transparency panel. Note, the blend mode is set to screen and the opacity is at 50%. Now, let us provide some glow for the sun. Select the ellipse tool. Over the sun's position, hold down the Shift key, drag to draw a perfect circle twice as large as the sun. This circle has swatch properties of my previous object. I will change the color to white and align the circle. Now, switch to the eyedropper tool. Select this color. The circle now has a radial gradient with a screen blend mode. Draw a second circle above the previous one. It should be slightly larger than the sun. Using the eyedropper tool, provide this fill gradient. Great. The next step is to add reflection under the sun. Duplicate this object and move the copy outside the artboard. Provide a white color and swipe the fill with a stroke. Choose the scissors tool from the tools panel on the left. I will cut a small section of the stroke and place it below the sun. Delete the excess section. With the object selected, go to the Properties panel, click on the stroke and under the Profile section, choose Profile 1. Now move the stroke back to the artwork and place it at the horizon. Our progress looks good. A little more to go. Select the ellipse tool and draw a perfect circle. This is our star. Swap the stroke for a fill and using the eyedropper tool, choose this swatch. Now, scale it down while holding the Shift key to constrain the dimensions. A precise method is to go to the Properties panel and input the values. 5 pixels will suffice in this case. I will make copies of the circle and place some on this area of the lake and a few on the sky. We are through. This is the final piece. Here is the reflection on the lake of the stars. I have slightly modified this shape to cover this area. I have also added glow to these areas to show the sun's reflection. To make a glow, draw an ellipse and provide any of these gradients. You may view the attributes of this object on the gradient and transparency panels. For example, the blending mode is screen with an opacity of 100%. Finally, to tidy up the artwork, I will remove the overlapping objects by making a clipping mask. Open the Layers panel, select the background object. You should see a selection indicator on the right side of the selected object. On the menu bar, go to Edit Copy and Edit Paste in Place. Back to the Layers panel, click and drag the copy to the topmost layer. When clipping, the topmost object defines the outline. I will now lock my sketch. Select all the artwork by dragging across it. Right-click and make clipping mask. Here is the final result. You may hide or delete the rest of the layers. So thank you guys. That wraps up the video. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Like, comment, share and subscribe for more. Take care and I will see you next time. Goodbye.